So we're here today with our dearest Priscilla from Mexico. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself in a second, but I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Priscilla. I'm Gert from Remote Year and perform as the Community Experience Manager here. And Priscilla has been so kind to be here with us today so we can get to know her a little bit and see what she's cooking, or actually what she cooked already. It's already ready to go for Oaxaca Day of the Dead. So Priscilla, thank you so much for being with us. Would you say a couple of words from you?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Priscilla, as Gert mentioned. I was born and raised in Oaxaca, in the southeast of Mexico. Probably you've heard a lot about the city since it's been very popular in the past few years. And so I've been organizing and guiding travel experiences since it's been 8 years now. So I like showing visitors a part of Oaxaca that sometimes is not there for everyone. So most of my experience tend to be a bit more immersive, but also super fun since having the local knowledge, it always opens doors. So I'm really happy to be organizing this trip for Remote Year that we've been organizing since I think 2018, if I'm not wrong. So it's been very interesting and fun to see how the trip has grown. The experience has been developed into something more unique and crafted for the Remote Years travelers.
Amazing. Priscilla, you said you are native from Oaxaca, so I'm clearly you're very proud of your land. How did you decide to work in tourism? Where does this motivation come from to receive foreigners and show them your land?
It's a very funny question and tricky one, because even though I am not a former tourist guide, meaning that I didn't study tourism, or I studied translation. No? So, but at uni, I had some classes, optional lessons that were linked to museums, because I've always been interested in museography, galleries, exhibitions. I'm a big fan of art. Obviously, coming from being in Oaxaca, you're always exposed to a lot of visual art in specific, and rooms of art of the 18th century and all of that. And so I guess that was my first experience with the actual service of guiding. But even before that, I don't know if you all remember couch surfing. Is that still a thing? Yeah. I found out about this couch surfing thing. So of course, I convinced my parents to use my brother's room to receive visitors. And so then when I was in Europe, I could do the same. My mom freaked out a little bit because she was like, what do you mean we're receiving strangers in the house? And so we agreed on only accepting girls, which that was really fun, because I actually made some friends that till the day we're still in contact. And of course, being here in Oaxaca, there's a lot of activities and a lot of touristy things to do. So I guess even since then, I would just ask my parents for their car, and then we would just drive up to Yerbelagua, or to some of the archaeological sites, and some of these places that the visitors, the couch surfers wanted to see, So I think in general, I've always liked hosting people. And then when I was invited by Eric Mindling, which is a pioneer in organizing cultural experiences here in Oaxaca, I guess when I started doing that, and I became kind of one of the tour leaders and also organizing all of the logistics. So I discovered parts of Oaxaca that I've never been to. And it just blew my mind that all of this still existed, And since I've always been very passionate about history and archaeology, I started getting deeper into those subjects, and then also into the living cultures, So for me, that kind of became my passion. So I started traveling more and more into Oaxaca, which is even though it might look like a small state, is huge, you know, and it has a big diversity. And so I started like discovering this world, and then realized that I, you know, for visitors that wanted to connect or to understand or had like a very specific, or they were looking for something very specific in communities, they needed a bridge, no? Because a lot of these communities, even though they are used to receive foreigners, there are others that aren't. And I think there's a lot of from the cultural perspective, that it's always good to have someone that can introduce you and that they trust, no? So it's been really a journey for me, all of these years of like doing that. And that's amazing about my city, that you can mix every level of history, no? It's a very trendy city that has a lot. Now it became like the foodie center of Mexico, so you can combine that in every level, no? You can go to the, not there's any like Michelin like star restaurant, but you can go to like the finest restaurant, and then you can also visit a lady in a community and understand like that process of like, oh yeah, this is the chef doing this recipe, not taking it to another level. But it's also interesting to see the origin, how like all of that is connected, no? So like in gastronomical terms, it's a discovery, not to see that a lot of the ingredients that even like now the new gastronomical projects are using, they've been used here for thousands of years, no? So it's really nice that Oaxaca offers those two things, no? Since it's a colonial and one of the oldest cities in Mexico, it also provides like that vibe of being in a very pretty place with a lot of like history, but also has all these new cool cafes and galleries. So the city is very vibrant, no? And I think that's why people now you can visit it in a weekend and still have fun, and then extend your visit and do like a proper, more understanding, no? Like visiting to Oaxaca is like in layers, no? Sometimes visitors they came and we've done like a week travel, and they are like, I've just seen the tip of the iceberg, right? And I'm like, yes, there's like many more. There's jungle, there's mountains, there's rivers, no? So that's kind of like my passion now.
I can tell you're passionate about it.
Yeah, sorry, I've talked a lot about lots of things.
But you did, but I love it because it reflected how you know so much about Oaxaca, how like from when you started until now you've been exploring and getting to know more people, and you discover what it's missing, that you mentioned it's a bridge between people that it's eager to learn something new with all of the vast culture that Oaxaca has. And I think it shows how amazing this global adventure is, this Day of the Dead is, because you talked a little bit about the food. We're going to talk about that. You talked a little bit about connecting people. You talked a little bit about the restaurants being high-end, lower-end, stuff like that. And it shows that I'm very proud of what you built, because I feel like it tackles many different things that Oaxaca might offer. And it also showcases that you can do it in 4 days, 8 days, or even more, and come after. Out of all of the activities that you have lined up for this adventure, which one is your favorite and why?
I think it would have to do building the altar, no? I think it's one of the most incredible and very personal activity, which I think sometimes it's hard to combine or to do in a trip, you know, because sometimes if you do a holistic trip, you know that you're prepared for connecting with yourself or with others, etc. And I think like this specific day, because as you said, it's for the Day of the Dead or Dia de Muertos. Obviously, a big part of the tradition is to build the offering, el altar, la ofrenda. And me as a Oaxaqueña, this is something that I've been doing since I was a little child. For me, like celebrating Dia de Muertos was almost like celebrating Christmas, and maybe even more fun, because even though we were doing this like for the belief that the souls of the ones that are no longer here with us will come, it was always a very lively time of the year, that's what I think what's very interesting, no? Because also in the past with our neighbors, for example, we would like gather and go into each other's houses to like take some fruit or leave some chocolate for the other altar. So it's always been like a tradition of like celebrating death and sharing, which might sound strange, but of course it's what I've seen is that hardly any of the visitors that come, I mean, they do have an idea of what's Dia de Muertos. They've either seen the movie Coco, which is, it has a really nice approach, I must say, or they've heard about the big parade in Mexico City. It's going to be sad, but it just like took off after the James Bond movie, like it didn't exist before that. So it's also a tradition that it's been commercialized in a way. So I think, well, that's another point. No? That's why it's very, very important that we do this tradition so people can have very respectful and to get the right idea of the celebration. No? That is not just a parade or, like paint in your face and do like whatever. And so then going back to your question, the day that we build the altar is very special because this year we've planned a really nice activity before for visiting Mitla, which is an archaeological site, which where was believed that the access to the underworld, in the pre-Hispanic times were. So it's already like a very special site to visit. And we're gonna do a little ritual with local guides from there. And they do something very special, kind of like to meditate and to connect. We open like, we visit part of the archaeological site that is not usually open to visitors. And so it's just very special. I don't want to give any spoilers, but like that evening had been planned for connecting with that part of ourselves and to start thinking about the people that is no longer here with us, because I think also what I saw from visitors is that since they don't practice the tradition, at the beginning they feel a little bit, a lot of things go through their minds. That the first one is usually like, am I like doing some cultural appropriation here? And I'm like, no, of course not, because this is also like what the tradition is about, is sharing. So as long as you do it with respect, and even like the more open you come to that, it flows better. And then with every person that we visit that day, it just feels kind of like a very safe place to do that and be open to that. And then the second thought is a little bit like related to this superstitious thing. Some people think that whatever is your belief of the afterlife or none or whatever happens, it's kind of nice to find that balance where you don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but like for this day, you're just welcome to be an observer and a participant of this very important and amazing tradition, that it's been performed for many years here in Mexico. And then since we encourage them to bring a photo or a memento from someone, sometimes people even bring like the pictures of their pets, and that's okay too. It's not disrespectful in putting that as well. So the moment when we start, because we build this altar in Atalia's house, which is a friend of mine from Santa Ana del Valle, a Zapote community. I've been working with her for many years, so we've got like that very important level of trust that she's opened her doors so we can build the altar of her family and ours too, and with her daughters. And it's just very nice that how this activity starts building up by itself, like very organically. And then of course there's always like ritual when the altar is done, and then in the moment when I think we are all like centered and absorbed in this celebration, sort of saying ritual. And it's just very nice to see how the people connect with that, and for that moment when they go and set their pictures, they've never thought of like honoring that, because it's usually for more Occidental cultures, like that is kind of like something that you don't talk about it, or it happens and then that's it. So I think like for visitors that they give themselves that chance to connect with it is like super important, and that kind of always marks like a before and after, no? And like the idea of like doing this activity is not only to show and to like connect with it, but also to kind of provide them with the tools so they can practice it, no? So that's also something very nice, because a lot of them like, oh my god, so I can do my own altar next year. And I'm like, of course. And it doesn't have to be huge, because obviously the one that we do is super traditional in the Zapotec way, and has a lot of elements. So I'm like, no, you just have to like light up a candle, put some flowers, and think of the person that you want to, you know, according to the tradition. It is believed that a portal opens, so they are allowed to come and join us for 2 days. And I think that's what, in general, the visitors take with them. No, it's a very meaningful and profound activity that the more we do it, the more like organically it gets. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I cannot agree with you more. Obviously, I'm not Mexican and I haven't had the opportunity to experience this closely, either to a Mexican or in Oaxaca, but there's many wins here. But like, I think there's two major pillars that people should be looking forward to it. Number one is getting into someone's house. Like not many times you have the experience to not only see the house from inside, but also see how they, in this case, a local family is doing their natural tradition to something that they embrace, and you're part of that. But also,
yeah,
what
and
you
also,
go on.
Yeah, because in most of like the houses of the communities, they all have a room, like a specific room for the altar, and it's not a room that is not the living room or you know, it's a room that is specifically made for receiving visitors and for having an altar. So it's also like a sacred place, you know. So yes, like, so having that opportunity of being there and feeling like completely kind of like I would say accepted, but kind of like with the freedom of like being there and no pressure. And also because, you know, I was just remembering the first time I did it with Dalia, obviously she was a bit nervous, but since it's also, we've been like doing this and growing now, it's just like taken so much like strength, no? So that's why it gets very, very emotional as well. So yeah,
I'm sure. The second thing that I wanted to mention is like the fact that they can take this with them, right? No matter if they're religious or not. Like, okay, now I learned this, and now I can like replicate it later or something like that, or actually talk with the truth, right? You mentioned it at the beginning. Like, there's a lot of misunderstanding, misconception of what actually is. So now, actually, like this experience of like living it in someone's house, like will give them a great, like, you know, they might be the coolest person in the room telling the story. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Priscilla, let's talk about food, because it's a very big, important chunk, I would say, in the Mexican culture. What is your Oaxacan favorite dish, and that you would recommend to anyone going to Oaxaca?
Oh my God, this is such a hard question, but I'm gonna go with memelitas, which are very simple. It's basically like a chunkier tortilla or chovier with beans and cheese, and that's it. But it goes with a very nice salsa. So sometimes in the most simple things, it's just like, you know, you get the best flavor. Oh, that can be probably like my favorite, like street food or like breakfast, like a little snack. But we're definitely having those because I'm a big fan. We are actually gonna make some. So. Nice. Yes, because sometimes people don't try those, you know, because they've tried like some other versions of it. In Mexico City, they're called sopes, but they are fried. And also, that's like one of the very important things to mention, that most corn things in Mexico City are made from industrialized corn dough. And here in Oaxaca, you know, even the tortillas taste different because they are from native maize, and you know, it's just a different level of flavor. And then, of course, the moles. No, I think specifically for Dia de Muertos, traditionally one of the dishes per excellence is the black mole or mole negro. And because mole negro is a ritual dish, like a celebration dish, like usually you have that for a wedding or for baptism. It's kind of like for special occasions, and as well that it has all of these ingredients that connected with the traditions, no? So it's very interesting to also learn about the uses, no, of the food, that something like the oldest recipes like mole, they are not only because they taste good, no, they have also like certain uses. And I think that's something also that when you're in Oaxaca, you start realizing that some of the food have other purposes, no? So I think like, yes, I would go with black mole. It's one of my favorite dishes, and the melitas, which are both we're gonna get the chance to try them, and also in all its variations, no? We're gonna be eating a lot of tamales de mole, and you know, it's just like the right season for trying mole negro.
Amazing. I love it. Priscilla, we're coming almost to an end, but I would love to ask you, is there anything, any last advice, any maybe warning, maybe watch this documentary, maybe read about the Midland, maybe what would you maybe come with an open mind? I don't know, maybe bring your memento, think about it. I don't know, idealize it, don't idealize it. Like what would be your message, your recommendation to those who are watching this?
Well, my message will be, like to try and flow with the tradition. Obviously, yes, bring a memento, bring a photo of whoever or whatever you want to leave in the altar, because that's going to be very special. And if you don't, here we can try and print something out. But other than that, yes, come with an open mind, an open heart, no? Also, I think there's a lot of information out there on Oaxaca, no? And maybe the visitors that are, if you're coming, maybe you have friends that have been there and they're going to be recommending you a lot of stuff. So also, yes, to come with like all of those lists of recommendations. So I can double check with you where to go. But I think like the most important thing would be that, no, to come with an open mind for each and every of the activities that we've planned. On the first days of when we have like an introduction, I always try to explain a little bit of the tradition and like linked it with the past, with the pre-Hispanic times, and also what it is today. So there's also a bit of that, but it's fascinating, no, to get into this world of the living and the dead. So it's always a good idea to watch Coco if people haven't seen it, just because they did a good research and it's portrayed really nice, like the family things. And I mean, obviously it's a Disney movie, and I think like the land of the underworld is a little bit like Disneyland, but it's also, you know, it's fun. So I think those would be my recommendations. So yes, and be prepared for a lot of food and for a lot of shopping. It's hard to resist because we're also visiting craftsmen and artisan women, visiting cooperatives, textiles, pottery. So it's also like a very good opportunity to buy directly from the makers. And so, yes, usually people come with not a check bag, and they come back with a full bag of like a lot of nice things from Oaxaca.
Yes, amazing. That's a great advice. I also love the fact that you bust the myth about Coco. Like if a Mexican is saying that they did a good job, obviously it's a Disney movie, but if you are happy with people watching it and getting a general idea of what Oaxaca means or the Day of the Dead means.
Well, I remember when I watched it in the cinema, like everybody was Mexican and we were all like crying, you know. It really portrays like like it's good. It's
nice when foreigners are able to project something and represent it in its
Yeah,
natural way, rather than like other situations when they're inflate or they
exactly.
create their own little alternative reality. Um, Priscilla, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate obviously your time. We're very excited to be launching this very soon, and
Yes.
buy your tickets. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Amazing. Take care.